All right, welcome into another edition of Catchin Up with Tommy Mack here on 1010XL's podcast platform at 1010XL.com. Of course, on the 1010XL app. Make sure you check that out. Download that app. We're also streaming live on Facebook, 1010's page, my page, and it's shared all over the place. No doubt about that. Right here in the 1010XL studios, where you can find a ton of content right here from these podcast studios with Gators Talk, Seminoles, Jags, of course. Catch up with Tommy Mack right there at 1010XL.com on the archive and archived on the app as well. Show brought to you by Team Tommy Mack. It keeps growing, man. Absolutely love it. I'm trying to cover all the bases for you. You know, you get in trouble, you need some food, you need an attorney maybe, that kind of thing. And I'm here to help. Get some carpet in you, whatever the case may be. Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds, J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling, Azar Sausage Company, Riverbend Ranch, The Carpet Man, and the Truck Accident Law Firm. Great to have them all on board, the Team Tommy Mack. All right, let's welcome in my producer. I've been doing shows, haven't done them with Graham in a little bit, so let's say hello to Graham Marsh. Hey, Graham, what's happening?
I almost got emotional when I walked in here, knowing that we were going to be reunited
been a while.
Today.
It's been a couple weeks, I think. Maybe.
I know. I've been playing sad music in my car, just thinking about how much I miss doing Catching Up with Tommy Mack.
You don't know what you got till it's gone, right? Those types of tunes. How you been? Doing all right?
Fantastic. And I just thought of something when you were talking about your wonderful sponsors. If whatever's going on in your life, just listen to the pod.
Right.
And I probably got a solution for you.
I got some. I can help you. And I'm pretty good at giving some advice, too, you know? I mean, it's my advice. But
you hungry? Got a solution. You get arrested? Got a solution.
Right. Need attorney? Got a solution. Need some carpet or flooring? Got a solution. Very simple stuff.
If you solve all that, life's pretty great.
It's pretty easy. I'm here to make your life easier.
Exactly.
And I appreciate that, no doubt about it. All right, sounds like our Jags went up to Detroit so far. Of course, they've got the game tomorrow, 1 o'clock here Eastern time. Did a good job. I tell you what, I said it on the radio, but I'm going to say it again. This trip couldn't have worked out any better. And before they even get there, you know why? I'll tell you what. The minute the schedule's released and Doug Peterson sees Detroit in the preseason, he's on the phone. And he's calling Dan Campbell. He's saying, hey, how about we get together and do some joint practice? It'll be good for both our teams. Of course, we both did well last year, finished strong. I think it's great. And look, I don't know Doug that well. I'm beginning to, get a good idea of how he does things. But think about this. Detroit was the last team to whooped our ass last year, 40-14. Then we go on the run, and we know the story. Yeah, we were 8-2 past 10 games of the regular season. One of those losses was 40-14 to the Detroit Lions after a big win against Baltimore. Now, credit to Doug back then saying, hey, that's an anomaly. That's not going to happen again. We're on to the next game, and it worked. Whether he believed it or not, it doesn't matter. He said it, so he had to believe it, and he wanted to make sure his players believed it. Like, hey, okay, that sucked, but look what we did against Baltimore. We know we got something here. Let's get Detroit out of the way, move them, get them out of your rearview mirror even, and let's focus on the next 5 games, because that's what happened. They went on a tear. So think about this. Just from a psyche standpoint, you go up to them. You're, again, on the road. Yeah, it's practice, but they went ones versus ones pretty much almost the entire time. It was very physical, very, very intense, a lot of chippiness, which I love. And you go up there and you kill some ghosts. You know what I mean? You get rid of some demons. And what do you do from that? You walk away from those practices feeling pretty darn good about yourself. Because they did. They had a good day. Now, we weren't up there. Detroit made plays. I know we're pro Jags. Detroit made some plays. They did. But we made a lot of plays too. And I think the Jags are probably sitting there after 2 days of practice going, we did pretty good. We feel pretty good. More to go. We got to keep it in perspective. That's one thing I think Doug does a great job, keeps it all in perspective. But I think they went up there, not just to get better at practice and practice another team, but try to kick the ass of some old ghosts as well. And I think it worked.
Agreed. It's
fantastic.
And what did we see all last season, outside of obviously making a great playoff run and everything? Yep. One of the other things I think that made Doug win over the hearts of every Jaguar fan was he was like the ultimate demon exerciser.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like
Yep.
all these, just brutal streaks that had gone on far too long.
Yep.
Doug just came in and just snapped them one by one.
Yep.
And it was such a great, like, you know this as well as I do, watching this team for so many years, like, it starts to set in mentally that that's just what happens, right?
Yeah.
And there's like a stink
Yep.
that has to be like lifted from the franchise.
Yep.
And that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Is you face those things and you snap them.
Right.
And I totally agree with you that the minute that Detroit was on the preseason, I totally agree that I think Doug said, we need to face this demon
That's right.
head on,
Yep.
and we need to break it, and we need
Absolutely.
to cut it,
Yeah, and they're not the only team. I mean, a lot of teams
not.
look, the Browns still have a stink. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Even
of
with all
course.
this talent on the
Of
roster,
course.
there's still I don't know if they're going to be any good this year. You don't feel that way about the Jags. And look, I think he's the master of, and I think it's great because it's a master of, hey, that was then, this is now, so forget about that. And then what have you done for me lately? I don't care what we did last Sunday, whether we won or lost. Now it's this Sunday, and that's all that matters. All the focus has got to be there. And I think they learned that throughout the year, and I think they're there. I think they're going to be a very confident. I tell you what, Jag fans, you're going to be jacked up when they take the field because they're going to feel like they're really you can see it in them already. They got some dog in them. They got some fight in them. They got some playmakers, ballers. I mean, they've got a great roster on paper and what we've seen so far in preseason and the training camp being down there. So, you're going to see a team with a lot of swag. And look, a team that has swag that backs it up is a powerful team for me. And I love swag. I do. I wasn't a good talker. I had a few things that I would say, but I can't say them I could say on the internet, but I don't want to. And I wasn't that creative. I didn't talk about your mama. I didn't talk about, basically you're a wuss and, this and that, and I'll fight you anytime you want. That was basically my comeback, which may or may not have worked out for me, depending on
You're the only football player to ever say those things.
No, right, right. But I do like a swag, a little cockiness, a little ego, as long as you back that up, because that's a powerful, powerful thing, and it resonates. Your D-line, your defense, your DB, they all got it. Then your O-line, receivers got it. Everyone's got it. And then you got that calm, cool, and collected Trevor Lawrence, who's, I tell you, I mean, I got it in my, look, and I know other people are saying this, and I've said it before, like watching him at practice, I don't really even watch him. I see the end result most of the time. You know what I mean? I see the catch down the field. I see the ball placement and all that stuff. But look, you watch him on the pivot. Well, they do a great job. Freddie T and the boys.
Fantastic episode.
Yeah, it was great. But you see the kind of guy, you feel so good about him on your team, let alone you're starting, franchise quarterback. I mean, who else? That's the kind of guy you want as a quarterback.
That's where I think because there's a negative side to this as well that you and I have talked about on many occasions.
Yeah. But
that is where I think the fact that he's had the spotlight on him since he was basically in middle school.
Yeah.
This is the benefit of that.
Yep.
Nothing's too big for him, man.
I agree.
No. Dude,
and he keeps getting better and better and better, more confident. He's got inner swag. He brings it out on occasion, like when someone gets him going, like he'll get in their face. You saw it last year. You saw it on the NFL films where he headbutts some guy or whatever. He's not taking any grief from anybody, but he's got that inner swag. He wants to be great. You could tell he wants to be one of the greatest ever
and he
to
knows
play
he
the
can
position. And he knows he has the potential to be without getting heady. Without being, oh, look at me. No, he's not like that at all. I tell you what, look, I'm not going to throw the F-bombs like Robert Salah did to his team, but kind of the similar message. That O-line comes to play, and it sounded like they were really chippy up in Detroit, which, by the way, I mentioned the defense having swag. When your offensive line plays chippy, that's like, you want them leading you out to, you're going into a rumble. You're leading with your O-line. D-line's right behind them. Backers or someone in there, but that nasty O-line that's got, they want to get after and embarrass people, and they all can do it. Whew, that's a powerful thing, man.
I think they
love
got.
it.
I think they got that on the line
I
too,
do
man.
too. I think they
Scherf,
showed it up there. I think
Brandon Scherf is that way.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Cam Robinson, we know is that way.
Totally.
I know he's suspended, but we know he's that way.
Anton appears to be that way.
It seems like Anton's that.
He does.
Dude, that first preseason game, man.
Yeah, he was getting after it.
I saw him get beat one time.
Yeah,
which
Fowler.
happens.
He
But
whiffed
Fowler
on
got
Fowler.
him. Happens.
That was speed. I just don't think he turned quick enough. But whatever, he got beat.
Other than that, bro, he was bullying people.
I agree.
Which I love.
Dude,
if you get a chance
yep.
to as a big old lineman like that to push a linebacker down and do it.
Yep. No
do
doubt.
it.
Absolutely.
And
Lay on him.
He's
Lay
like,
on him.
man.
I'll tell you who else has got that. And I'm not a big fan of the cartwheels, but Cooper Hodges has got that.
He 100% is.
He wants to get after people. You need that on your offensive line. And I think we got it. I even think, because he was kind of quiet last year, I think Fortner's getting a little bit of that in him. You know, you see him doing a little extra and wanting to get guys on the ground.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
I'm sure
good.
you know this better than I would. I feel like watching, especially in the league, watching any unit, if you have a couple of guys like that that kind of start to build that, the other guys follow suit and they start carrying the same type of swag, right?
Absolutely.
Like as a linebacker for you,
if
the other linebackers are carrying some swag and kicking some ass and making some plays, you're gonna be like, I better kick some ass and
swag
make
for
some plays,
a backer is big hits.
Yeah.
That's lighting somebody up,
right?
Like making a big hit. You know, that's how you get swag.
The hits you can hear from a mile away.
Yeah, like you're lighting somebody up, to the moon, and they go unconscious for.
But offensive line's got to be the same way.
I'm trying to hurt you for your career just for a few minutes. You know what I mean?
Offensive line's got to be the same way, right?
Like,
like if I'm Fortner, even though Fortner is, I think we would agree at like just as a person, a more like mild mannered dude.
Yep.
Seeing Scherf, who's just this big old grizzly bear next to you that's ready to kick ass, and Cam Robinson,
he's violent,
talking mess to people, like. That's going to make you kind of start doing that a little bit and start carrying that with you. And he's got a year under his belt, probably a little more comfortable with everything he's doing. The head's not spinning as much, as even though he was incredibly smart as a rookie. But you get what I'm saying. Like a little bit, that second year of like, man.
Shatley's got a little dog in him. Barch has got a little of that in him. Dude,
I love the bodies they have on the offensive line. I feel like any five that Rauscher feels good about, I feel good about.
Well, I think Anton really makes you feel good because he's replacing a guy that had a really good year. We talked about Jawan Taylor last year and the kind of year he had, deserved the contract. He's got to own up to it now. He's got to play to that contract, but he definitely earned it. And now you're sitting, because at first you're like, I don't know, we'll see. Now you kind of see it. He's got tremendous feet. Tremendous feet. Phil Rauscher says he's got some of the best feet he's ever seen on a rookie lineman ever. That says a lot about what he's talking about. So good to see Anton do pretty well. Look, it looks like our defensive ends or outside backers did okay or better than okay up against two pretty good tackles. Sewell and Decker are good bookend tackles for the Detroit Lions. Look, the one-on-ones, they're good, but you gotta keep them in perspective to a certain degree. Now, guy totally, whiffs, you beat him like, at the line of scrimmage, you're on him, sack, like there's no contested at all. Yeah, you can say, yeah, he whooped him. But some of these, even when they ride him down a little bit, it may look like the defender won. Well, I guess it depends what happens. Let me throw this out to the group, and Graham, I'll throw it out to you as well, because I was thinking about this. So if my outside backer at the end beats the tackle or close to beating him, and I'm the quarterback and I feel that, and there's no pressure coming up, like to collapse a pocket, and I step up and make the throw without you ever really coming near me. You just ran past me. Is that a pressure?
I don't think so.
Right. I think some people think it is, though. Like, look what he did there. No, well, if the quarterback's just got to step up and make a throw, that doesn't really mean anything. It's kind of like
every other throw
you're a
they
neutral.
Make.
Like, so what?
Yeah.
You went up the field. You did beat the tackle, but, I don't know. If you don't get all the way around and get him, or if your inside rush doesn't help you out to make sure he can't step up, right? That's where it goes together. So the one-on-ones are a little bit, you just look, they look great. I'm glad they're doing it. Look, to me, Penei Sewell is one of the top young tackles in the game. if you did pretty well against him, you're faring pretty well. So, look, we know how important it is for Trayvon and Josh Allen to have big years. And it's going to help with help on the inside, which brings me to my next topic and player is Foley Fatukasi, man. Injured calf, will not play. He had the calf last year for a little while. Man, he's one of my keys to this year. Now this is what happens with the preseason. You know, you look, you want Foley healthy. Everybody does. When he's healthy, he's a beast. But you start playing the what-if game. Okay, what if it's like last year? What if we only have him for whatever many games, 4 or 5? What do you have, 4 or 5 games, maybe full games? He didn't play in a lot of games, right? I mean, he was injured a lot last year.
He was.
What if we don't have that? What if that happens again? Who's the guy? I got to keep Roy Robertson at my other end. I got to keep Devon Hamilton at my nose, or maybe I move him and put someone at nose. Maybe that kid from North Carolina State, Varasic, whatever, number 59. I want to see him play a little bit more. But you know what I'm saying? Like, who is it going to be? So then you look at a guy like Lacey, the draft pick out of Oklahoma State, Tyler Lacey. You look at a guy like Ledbetter, Jeremiah Ledbetter, kind of, 29 years old, but he seems to be making plays. You know, who's going to be? That's why these games, I know everyone's like, we don't need the games. This is why you need the games. And I'm okay. And I think I credited you, Graham, last week or the week when you, like, you're okay. Or, no, it was Tony. I'm sorry, at Jaguars Today. Tony's like, I'm okay with just the joint practices if we had no games. And I just said, I'm okay if my starters do that, but I need games for my backups. Yeah, I got to know if my backups can play at the speed of the game. I've got to know that. So I think that's very important. You're going to see that this weekend. You
know this very well. There's something different about when lights come on, the real uniforms come on, there's fans in the stands, it's not the same. There's something different about it. And there are guys that elevate their play when that happens, and there are guys that the light's too bright for them. I'll
tell you, they probably talked about him all week, and I did earlier, but Abdullah was one of those guys. He needs to not have tunnel vision on a couple plays, right? So see that ball come out so you can chase that down. But his sack, one of the really natural dip, man. I mean, he could get after it. I mean, he's got the speed.
He was in the backfield
a little bit more, but it's good time.
I saw number 56 in the backfield a lot. And
he was.
That was really encouraging.
Yeah, very, very disruptive.
I was really happy that the game didn't end with me being like, "Oh, when did you see Abdullah play?"
Yeah.
Like, did he get in?
Right.
I watched him. I watched him
played
make
a lot
plays.
of snaps. Well, he played a lot of snaps.
And I'm guilty as charged. When I watch football games, I'm a ball watcher. I don't watch because I never played lineman or anything. I played receiver.
Let me give you a little fun tip though to add to the foray, if you will, because this is what I like doing. I think every pass play before I see where the ball goes, I want to see if anybody hits the QB or is near the QB. I always want to see that. Because I get it. You want to follow the ball. We all do. But to me, it's like, because you can see what happens in that pocket. And it's real. Look, when he makes a great throw and gets drilled, you're ultra impressed. Like, I swear, every time I'm watching, I don't care what game, drop back pass, I'm always like, oh, you'll hear me go, oh, that was it. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? Ball went out. I'm like, wait till you see the replay.
Yeah.
Kapow. You like that kind of stuff.
You watched the quarterback series, right?
Yeah, Netflix,
Dude, Kirk Cousins got annihilated every throw he made.
Yep.
Hey, that guy, you talk about standing in the pocket and making a throw.
No doubt.
That guy.
Yep. And trying to get healthy every Sunday.
Yeah.
That's their whole week.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to get ready for the game. How about the mental side? Can you imagine having to memorize all those plays? I think memorizing songs can be tough. I got about 50 to memorize, but man, all those plays, all those crazy names in those plays, you know what I mean? That's and then taking the hits that you got to take, man. But yeah, it's going to be, look, this game is going to be mostly backups. I think against Miami, we'll see some starters because you want to see them roll into the regular season. But yeah, it's, look, I didn't hear anything about Little, which I was a little surprised, no pun intended. I wanted to hear how he did. You saw, like, you didn't see any videos of Walker Little doing one-on-one. You saw Anton Harrison against Hutchinson, but you didn't see I didn't even see Cam. Like, how did Cam do up there? How did Walker Little do up there? Look, Walker Little in the game was fine except that one series where he gave up the hit and then he had the false start because he was a little afraid to get beat on the speed. I get it. It happens to everybody. But we got to see them. I doubt they're going to play. I think if my ones, went Wednesday and Thursday, Coughlin's probably rolling in his grave me saying this, but if my ones went, full on Wednesday, full on Thursday, I might not play him in the second game.
Yeah.
I may give everybody else a chance to have a shot at making this team and playing a pretty big role.
Well, we talked about this. We've talked about this some already, and I remember talking with our good friend Ryan the Hacker Green out at camp one day, kind of discussing this.
Yep.
We didn't really get to see last year what their kind of what Doug's kind of official model he was going to roll out in the preseason in terms of when guys play, when they don't. Because they played the Hall of Fame game last year.
That's right.
So it was kind of like preseason of old for the Jaguars because they played 4 instead of 3. So it was a little different.
Yep.
This year, we were kind of speculating what that model might be with the 3 games because it's different. It used to always be that those first 2 games, the stars would play a little but not a ton.
Yeah.
The
third game is a big one.
Basically play a whole half. Fourth game, they wouldn't play at all. That was always the model.
Yeah.
Now I guess that... Do you think that's what it's going to be now? Is like first game you play a little, like those first 2 games. Second game you don't play really at all. And then third more like.
I think if you don't play the second game, if you have joint practices, I think if you don't, you're just going against your own guys. You need to play a little bit in that second game.
Yeah.
I do think because look, it's not game speed when you go ones versus another team, but it's as close as you get to game speed without being in game speed, if that makes sense. Because everything gets pumped up. You want to, it's a rumble. You want to beat them up. You're up there to win. You're up there to kick ass and show that you're a better team, more physical, more dominant, all that stuff. So it is, and it does uptick the speed, the energy, the intensity.
This goes back to the point we made about, or the point you made about quarterbacks being able to stand in there and take the hit.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see my QB play in game, even if I don't want them to get hit, but I like them in situations where they're allowed to be hits.
Right.
We I know you remember this. We saw Blaine Gabbert. He used to light it up when he couldn't get hit.
Oh yeah.
And then he did not. He was scared to get hit. He would not stand in there and make throws.
Yep.
And to his credit, I know he didn't turn out to be the QB that we probably hoped.
He's still in the league.
But Blake would stand in there and get destroyed, and he'd make every.
Yeah.
Trevor will get hit.
Well, totally. Yeah.
So
that's a big thing, man. You're gonna get hit,
and I think
there's no way around it.
I think throughout camp, I never played QB, but I would imagine throughout camp, it's easy to get used to the cushiness of not wearing the red jersey and not being hit.
Yeah, 7-on-7 is awesome.
I want listen. Obviously, knock on wood, and always wanting him to stay healthy.
Yep.
If Trevor gets one good pop, in the preseason to kind of shake some rust off and say it's football time again, that's fine with me.
Right.
Get hit a time.
Again, you got to get used to the speed somehow, so you don't go in it with a deer in the headlights, and then the other team's ready, and guys are getting hurt because they're not used to the speed.
Could you imagine if your first live contact that given season was week 1 of the regular season?
No, right.
Hell no, man. You're asking to get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. And you obviously don't want that. All right, so big nights, big day coming tomorrow for a lot of guys, in my opinion. You look at the wide receiver group. Austin did not have a good game, but they like him. But he's got to make plays in the game. Tim Jones, they really had a big play up in Detroit. I think he got underthrown on a throw from Beathard during the game, but these are big nights. Seth Williams, I like Seth Williams because he can catch in a crowd. But the question is, I got to credit Dempsey and Fat Tony on the show. They're like, well, when do you put him in? Like, who are you replacing? It's not necessarily replacing. It's just I got to make sure that if any of those starters go down, Zay, Cal, Christian, Agnew, any of those guys, throw in Ingram, I got to make sure I can replace them. I got to make sure that they don't have to be as good as them, but they got to be pretty darn close. So what do you want? And then you got to throw in special teams. You look at Jacob Harris, made a big play in the game, had a bad block on the, you got to sell that chip route a little bit better. I watched him during practice. He can play gunner. He can run, this kid. He's big. He's physical. 6'5", Jacob Harris, and can run down the field. If he can play gunner, that's huge for a guy to make the team. So it's going to be interesting. But make no mistake about it, whether you're talking Jacob Harris, whether you're talking Elijah Cooks, Seth Williams, Tim Jones, I'm going to throw in Parker Washington, although I think his spot on the team solidified. I want to see more out of him. I do. I think he's a perfect player. He's kind of like Kirk, right? Christian Kirk's a very good wide receiver. I love that guy. But when's he at his best? When you clear everything out and let him go one-on-one on the defender. He's open every time. He catches it, and he turns the ball upfield, right? I mean, that's what you're basically going to use Parker Washington for, aside from backing up, being a punt returner backup.
It's great. It's elite east-west movement to then get north-south.
Correct.
You lose an LB because he just can't keep up with you east-west.
Right.
And then you're gone. You get Christian Kirk's one of the best in the game at that.
No doubt.
The minute he gets the ball and loses you, he's up the field.
Parker has the quicks. Does he have the speed? I don't think it's as good as Kirk, but whatever. He's going to be on the team, but I'd like to see more out of him. So you just take that wide receiver group that's fighting for their lives, fighting for their football lives. There's some heavy, heavy competition. Right? You look at the backups of the offensive line. Who are they? Right? Cooper Hodges has made a push. They like him. He's there. What about Williams, a backup center? Do they need a backup center? Or do you have Shatley? And is he going to be healthy? And he could play center if something happens to Fortner, right? Who's backing up left tackle? Cam's gone. Who is it? You got Walker Little, right? You got Anton on the other side. Josh Wells just got hurt. Throw that into the mix. These are important games for these guys to figure it out and make a move. That's a great thing about when the starters don't play, you get to play. I told this story many times. Early in '95, I'd have to wait till mid fourth quarter, if not till later in the fourth quarter.
You warmed up 2.5 hours ago. You've been standing around.
It was awful. It was awful. Then over time, because I'd make plays, I got more time. So then maybe I'd get in the second quarter or the third quarter, and then keep going up and up and up. And look, I'll say it again. The last game, the fifth game, was against the Rams right here in Jacksonville. Last preseason game before the cuts, the final cuts, which were the next day. My linebacker coach comes up. I think I started and played probably 3 quarters. He's like, you got to be at your best tonight or you won't be here tomorrow. It's simple as that. Now think of that. And that's why I got a heart for these backup, because that's it. Look, I know you've done all this stuff leading up there. Your practices, goal line scrimmage, whatever. All this stuff you've done in the weight room, on the field, in the lock, everything. It's all coming down to what? Can you play on Sunday? And you got to be at your best. And if you're going to make this team, I went out and had a good enough game to where they kept me. And then Coughlin even said, you still got to make the team every week. So it wasn't like I was set in stone by any means. But those are the kind. I look at Shaq Quarterman. He's got to play big. He made a lot of plays last week. I know he screwed up in the pass a little bit. Nice recovery. Made a good open field tackle on that Deuce Vaughn kid who's, man, we'll talk about a Mazda. Vroom, vroom, vroom. That guy's unbelievable.
Bro.
He is. He's sick, that kid.
I'm a Saturday guy. I watch a ton of college football.
Yeah.
That was one of the best college football players in the country. That guy was unbelievable, dude.
Did you see what he did
to
those
Sproles,
guys
bro.
in the hole? Oh,
Dude,
I know. He seems just like Darren Sproles.
You get him in space, bro, nobody's got a chance.
Yeah.
People were making fun of him on Twitter and stuff because he's short and cracking jokes and saying this guy's going to get killed.
Yeah.
You didn't watch ball on Saturdays if you're saying that.
Maurice Jones-Drew was 2 inches taller.
Right.
He was awesome.
If there's one position where you don't got to be tall, it's running back.
It is.
You can be.
As long as you're fast, quick, and powerful, you're good. Or two of the three, no doubt about it. But, even guys like Caleb Johnson, he made a lot of plays last week. Can he find a way? Ventrell Miller, drafted in the 4th round. You're going to get more time. Chad Muma made a few plays, needs to make more. I mean, I think he's on a team. I think he's going to play special teams and back up. But these are important games for these guys. So I like that it's on at 1 o'clock because then I will watch the whole thing. And I did watch the whole game last weekend, starting at 5. That helped, to stay awake. And and get it done.
Let me ask you something, because
Yeah.
I know you obviously know this. You just talked about it. You know this process very well because you were this guy.
Mm-hmm.
The guy we're talking about was you. Like you lived this yourself.
That first year especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When for coaches and front office, let's say there's a guy that, kind of like what we've been talking about, some guys elevate their game when the lights come on, some guys don't. Let's say there's a guy that's been really good in practice, okay?
Right. Yep.
Made a ton of plays in practice. He's really stood out on tape.
Yep.
Coaches really, really like what he's doing. He's kind of a fringe bubble roster guy.
Yep.
And then you have another guy that hasn't done a ton in practice, but every preseason game he's making plays.
Yeah.
Who
do you go with?
The question is, does making plays when the real uniform is on and there's fans, is that more valuable?
It doesn't. I don't think it supersedes everything else, but it does have a higher point system in the value.
Because, like, for example, I don't think Tim Jones makes the team last year without the preseason games.
Oh, agreed.
He was phenomenal. Because I remember going to camp every day. He made plays, but it wasn't. You didn't go to practice last year being like, "Oh my God."
No, I know.
But every preseason game, he made a couple of plays that made you say, "Oh my, wow, this guy can play."
Right. And he backed it up by multiple times, right? It wasn't just one game. It was multiple games.
He played a ton of snaps in every preseason game, every single time he showed up.
It does. It definitely has the highest point in the whole, skew of it all, but I don't think it overrides everything else. It all depends, right? And it depends your status on a team. Are you a high draft pick? Are you off the street?
There's a lot of politics involved.
There can be, no doubt about that. Interesting, just quick look around the National Football League. 2 young quarterbacks named starter, Sam Howell at Washington and AR at Indy. I do like what Gardner Minshew said about Anthony Richardson being the starter now. He said, hey, it's his team. I'm here to back him up. He's the franchise. That's what you want out of a backup quarterback. A lot of people thinking Nathan Rourke maybe ahead of Beathard, but it's not just this. This is where, like, that last play was phenomenal, and Nathan Rourke brings it. I like the kid. I do. I think he's very intriguing. I want to see more of him. But a backup quarterback's more than just that. A backup quarterback, someone that starter trusts, starter likes. You're kind of a buffer. You're there for support. You're trying to help him see things. Beathard has seen a lot more than the kid. Does Trevor really need it? Maybe not. But it's always nice to have that backup quarterback that's a very good relationship.
And a guy you can go talk to that's not just the coaches.
Right.
You get this because you played. Like, sometimes things just resonate differently if another player is telling you, especially if it's your position.
Absolutely.
Than the coach.
Yeah.
The coach is almost like a parent talking to you, versus a peer.
Yeah.
And dude, in terms of like personality and like vibe and how he carries himself, CJ Beathard is literally the perfect backup.
Yeah.
Every time he steps in, he plays well because he knows what he's doing.
He can run the offense all day long.
He can competently do things. He's got a good arm. He throws good. He knows what he's doing. He's really smart.
Yep.
And he's like the ultimate support system for Trevor. If you think, I wish we could have seen some of it, maybe like mic'd up, some access stuff. But if you think that when Trevor was going through that first half against the Chargers,
right,
someone like CJ Beathard to be right there by his side every time he had to come to the sideline after a pick. If you think that wasn't pivotal, you're insane.
No, right.
Like,
absolutely.
That's because you saw you always see that they're looking at the iPad.
Right.
Why did this happen?
What did you see? What did you see? What did you miss? Hey, did you see that guy? Maybe you get tunnel vision yourself. I will say that one thing Trevor said in the pivot, and I'm paraphrasing about how we were down 27-0, but everyone stayed. Let's just clarify something. If you don't score before halftime, that stadium probably filters out pretty quickly. That score before half gave everybody like, oh, wait a minute.
Dude, it meant everything.
It did. Wait a second. And that goes back to Doug. Like, on the sidelines, like, hey, forget 27-0. Let's get a score here. This is our first series. Let's go. And they did it. But without that happening, we're going home. I mean, I know I am. If it's 27-0 at halftime and you didn't score at all, I'm probably heading out the door, even at a playoff game. But with that one score, now you got a chance. And you get the ball back. You just gotta love Doug Peterson, his persona, man. I love the way he does it. He's not a screamer, not a yeller, but man, his presence is respected by everybody and trusted, I believe, by everybody inside that organization.
And you've said this multiple times already in different ways, but something about, like, I think maybe the best quality Doug has as a head coach is all the experience he has to fall back on from when he was a player and in his time
as
so far as a
QB.
coach. Yes.
Yep.
And his time as an OC with winning teams and Alex Smith, and then being a head coach, and feel like all of this experience he has, and he's there's nothing he hasn't really seen.
Right.
So his ability, you've already talked about his ability to, regardless of circumstance, dedicate all of his focus and energy to what it needs to be dedicated to is paramount. Totally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
in an even keel kind of way.
The last guy was horrible at that. That everything consumed. I know we're not talking about the last guy. It's over. But just to even further magnify that, Doug just gets it, man. Like the Detroit game was the best example.
I've said this many times, and we got to go. But the grunt football players make the best coaches because they know how important the grunts are, like a backup QB, and they also know how stars should be treated or how you got to deal with stars. Because there was no bigger star than Brett Favre at one time in the game, right? He was 3-time MVP. The guy was unbelievable. And Doug was his backup and played a pivotal role in being his backup and had a great relationship. So the grunts, the cowards of the world, they always seem to make. I'm not saying star players can't make great coaches, but
Nick
the
Saban
grunts
was a grunt player.
Typically make the best coaches. All right, we got to go.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Graham. Good job, my friend. Hey, we're on every Tuesday and Friday, of course, right here from the 1010XL podcast studios, and we love bringing it to you. You'll see it shared all over social media. Of course, make sure you download the 1010XL app. Go on 1010XL.com. You'll see all the great content that's here done from the podcast room. I got the dad bods tonight. Looking forward to that. Hey, Monday, quick reminder, having a cookout at the Ritz in Jax Beach. It's beef, beer, and ball. And we got some hats. We got some T-shirts. We're going to cook some food. I am going to chef it out a little bit, and we're going to talk some ball, man. So come on out. Starts at 6 o'clock. I want to thank all my great sponsors. Team Tommy Mac, baby. You guys are all awesome, and I'll keep promoting you on the social media, on this show. Of course, Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds, number one name in the bail game. J-Dog Junk Removal, veteran-owned and operated. If you're a veteran, go check them out. They're looking for you. They got some work for you if you want it. JDogJunkRemoval.com. Azar Sausage Company. I tweeted it earlier. Hey, man, you need some stuff to grill out for the game, for at home, whatever. Make sure you ask for Azar Sausage in your Publix, in your Winn-Dixie, and other local grocers. I mentioned Riverbend Ranch. We're having that cookout on the 21st in Jax Beach. The Carpet Man, home of LVP. LVP. Oh, I'm warming up. LVP. All right, that's absolutely great thing having them on board. And the truck accident law firm at truckcrashlaw.com. They're all about safety and serving the community. Check them out if you're involved in any of those kinds of things. Thanks, everybody, for checking it out. I'll see you tonight at Culhane's, baby. We're going to crush it and bring a ton of energy, and it's going to be a great, great time. So until next time, stay safe and be cool out there, and we'll see you right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mac. Peace.